What's going on, guys? My name is Angelo Carlos. I'm a UCLA MBA, Google and Meta program manager, as well as the host of the Angelo Carlos podcast on YouTube. And I want to teach you guys how to get your first job. We're going to go over how to craft your resume, how to find a job, how to do well on phone screens, how to do well on your in-person and online panel interviews. We're going to go into job negotiations for your offers, as well as how to excel and do well in your role. So very excited to have you guys on board. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys land your dream role and enjoy the course. Guys, I'm going to go over the next important part of your job application, and that is the resume. You want to make sure your resume stays at about 1 page length, no more, no less. The reason being is recruiters will just be looking at that first page and they look at the resume for about 5 to 10 seconds. So you want to make sure it's eye-catching. So here is a good example of a resume. At the top, you're going to have your name, the address, city, state, phone, email, LinkedIn handle for your information. And then you're going to want to put your education. So education, it should go from your latest education. So if you went to graduate school and that's the latest education, put that there. And then any honors, leadership, membership. And then underneath that, you're going to have your undergraduate in your university where you went to undergrad. And you're going to put your GPA if it's strong. If not, just add anything relevant, whether honors, leadership, or membership. Keep this short and sweet. The less, the better, because what's really important, especially if you have experience, is the experience portion. So let's jump in the experience portion. So here you're going to put your most recent company organization, and you're going to have a lot of keywords regarding to what you did. So make sure you talk about any projects you did, and you talk about any percentage increases, which you have here, any money saved or created, or profits increased, and anything kind of percentage wise related to that. You're gonna have the location and dates of employment there, and then you're gonna have all the places you've worked at under this experience portion of your resume. This is gonna be super important because this is what most employers are gonna look at, where you worked and what you did. Under here is this additional sections, and you're going to put any certifications you may have that may be relevant to your job, any software languages, volunteer experience, or interest. Have this interest part kind of fun, so that way it'll be like a conversation topic when you are interviewing, and that way you'll have something fun to talk about. These are important. However, you really want to make sure this section for experience is really tailored with great metrics, with great bullet points on what you did at your previous roles. All right, guys. So now that we have our resume, you want to look for jobs to apply to, right? So jobs are basically posted on the company website or on employment websites like LinkedIn, Indeed.com, Handshake. My advice for you is you need to apply to 20 jobs a day. So make sure you have a funnel of jobs you're applying to, because you're going to apply to a lot of jobs and you're not going to hear back from a lot of them. And you want to have a lot of jobs that you can apply to so you can get good with interviewing and you can get good with actually mastering that interview job application process and skill. My favorite places to look for jobs are LinkedIn.com. So LinkedIn.com is essentially like a social media for applying for jobs, where you can put your career, you can put your work experience, your school you went to, and you can network with other professionals. I really like LinkedIn.com, especially if you're looking for new jobs, because they have a job tab on that LinkedIn.com where the algorithm really looks for roles that specialize in your certain expertise or skill set. So if you're looking for a job, use LinkedIn.com. Another great website is Indeed.com. Indeed.com has a lot of great roles to apply to, and it's not so much like LinkedIn where you can network with other professionals. It's more so it just has all the jobs you can apply to, and then you can apply to those Indeed.com jobs. Handshake is another website that's great for students or college graduates or people looking for internships. They specialize in finding a lot of jobs, roles, internships for students or recent college grads who are looking to get into the marketplace for the first time. So if you don't have much experience, you want to find roles where they're actively looking for younger college graduates or master's graduates, PhD graduates, look at handshake.com. They're a great company based in San Francisco, as well as they have a lot of great roles if you're early on your career or if you're looking for internships. And they do partner with a lot of universities. They partnered a ton with UCLA, all the UCs, and a lot of the schools basically in the United States. So they're a great resource for you. Another last and final resource is company websites. So if your dream company is to apply to a place like Google, like Meta, like any other company like Stanford Healthcare, whatever it may be, you can go to their specific websites. The trick for these websites is that you want to find the jobs that apply to you, and then you also want to set up a notification for the specific role you're looking for. The reason I say that is because I've worked with a lot of recruiters at Google, and they're telling me a lot of times they get so many resumes that it's hard for them to screen out who to really interview. So they look at the first couple hundred or so. So what I'm trying to say is, if you set up a notification for you to apply for a job that fits your profile and you apply in the first minute or two, you'll be on the top of that file that gets reviewed by the recruiter. So really look into those roles and apply to those jobs early. Set up notifications so you're one of the first people to apply, and then also apply to 20 jobs a day. Take a look at this job application process as a sales funnel. The more people you reach out to, the more jobs you apply to, the more likely you're on to get a lead, which then turns into an interview and then hopefully eventually into a job. So take a look at that. If you can apply to more than 20 jobs a day, then more power to you. Definitely do it, and really take this job application process seriously, because with this job application process, you get really good with interviewing, you'll be able to apply to more roles, and you can set yourself up for success. All right, congrats. You applied to your jobs and you were able to get a phone screening. Essentially what happens is you apply to a bunch of roles, it goes through an applicant tracking system, recruiter reviews the best resumes that they deem fit, and then they send it over to their hiring manager. Hiring manager looks over it, they vet you, they say that we're good to go, let's interview this person, and the recruiter will set up a 15 to 20 minute phone screen with you, right? So I don't want you to freak out at all. This is just a really, really relaxed first round interview, aka the phone screen. You're gonna speak to a recruiter, and the recruiter is just gonna ask you certain topics about yourself, right? They're gonna look at your resume and they just want to vet that you will do a good job at the role, and they want to make sure that you will do well with the hiring manager. So essentially the recruiter will ask you a question, why don't you tell me a bit about yourself? This is just basically where you go into your resume and talk about the experience you had. So the way I would approach this is just basically your 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch. So you can tell them where you went to school and what roles you did, if you're earlier in your career, or you can basically talk about any roles you're currently in or have done. So you can say something like this: my name is Angelo. I went to school at UCLA, focusing on business at UCLA Anderson. After UCLA, I went over to Meta to focus on hardware, technical program management. We essentially were able to work a lot on the Meta Quest, and then after Meta, went over to Google, worked at Google Cloud and data centers, focusing heavily on data center integration as well as data center expansion. Found your role on xyz.com. I think I'm a good fit because of my experience at Google and Meta, and I'm very excited to learn more about the role. Essentially, it's a quick 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch. You just want to keep it short, sweet, and you don't want to confuse the recruiter. And then the recruiter will ask you a little bit more questions, really simple questions, like what do you know about the role? Can I explain to you a little bit more? And they may even ask you, can you tell me about a time you used data to solve an issue, or can you tell me about a time you had to work with different stakeholders to solve a problem, right? And the way you answer that question is just a quick STAR method interview, where situation, task, action, result, where you talk about a situation where you had a problem, you talk about the task that was required to solve that problem, the action you did, and then a result. The result is like the end outcome of the project, and you always want to make sure that end result has a basically a metric associated with it, so that way you have formal numbers you can give back to whoever you're interviewing with. That is the STAR method. So that is a pretty quick, really easy way to make sure you do well on the phone screen. Just remember, it takes 15 to 20 minutes. The recruiter will ask you at the end if you have any questions for them, and they'll tell you a little bit more about the hiring manager. Usually when they tell you about the hiring manager, they'll tell you about what team they're on, what product they're currently working on, and then they'll send you their LinkedIn profile. You can look up them, learn a little bit more about them, and understand what they do. So it's very chill, very relaxed. I want you guys not to freak out and just keep it short, sweet, and simple, because you essentially already are going to get passed on to the next round as long as the recruiter seems like you're a competent and good fit. So that is what's going on for that 15 to 20 minute phone screen. Always remember to thank the recruiter afterwards and send them a thank you email after, and then you'll get some more information regarding the role. And after this phone screen, if you need to reach out to the recruiter as a resource, I want you to just email the recruiter, say, hey, I have a few questions about this role, and give them your questions. The recruiter is your resource because you now have a point of contact at the company, which is the recruiter. The recruiter does well in their job if you get hired, so just know that they're your friend, and they will be asking you these certain questions. Another thing I want to also go over is that usually on that phone screen, the recruiter will ask you for your salary expectations. So it's your job to say, hey, I'm looking for market value. Can you please tell me what the range is for this role? That way, when you have that initial phone screen, you're not pigeonholed into a certain number amount, and you actually will find out how much this role pays. So that way you're more aware of how much you'll be looking for with regards to the role, and make sure that you're not applying for a job or going to get a job that doesn't pay what you're looking for. All right, congratulations, you did well on the phone screen. Now it's time for the panel interview. Panel interviews are usually around 3 to 6 rounds, and they will be taking place with the hiring manager as well as people on your sister team for that specific role you're applying to, or just people throughout the organization. At Google, I had about 5 or 6 rounds. One was with the hiring manager, and then the other 5 rounds were with people on sistering teams who are working on a similar product. And the way I was able to do well and get strong hires for all those interviews was through the STAR method. The STAR method stands for situation, task, action, result. I recommend that you write down on a piece of paper or on a document all the experiences you've had in companies, whether you've managed a program, managed a project. Write that down and store it somewhere. That will be your treasure chest of experience. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use the STAR method, which is called situation, task, action, result. With the STAR method, you will answer each of the questions the interview gives you with that format. So let me give you an example. Describe a situation where you had to solve a complex problem under pressure. So that is the question the interviewer is asking you. So for situation, you can say, while working as a project manager on a tight deadline, we experienced technical issues with the software platform which jeopardized the delivery of our project to the client. My task was to ensure that we were able to identify the root cause of the problem and identify a solution. The action I took was to gather and brainstorm information from my neighboring teams. After analysis, I identified a bug or issue in the problem, and I tried to remain calm while reallocating all the resources I needed. As a result, we were able to have quick decision making and resolve the issue within 24 hours, and our product was back and running. This led to a retention of 21% for our clients who were subscribed to our product. This is really important that you include a result where you have a certain metric, because the interviewer wants to determine whether or not that issue you solved, that project you solved, was successful. And by providing a certain metric, you give them a metric to judge whether or not that was successful for your project. So always break down your issues or your problems, or you're getting these questions from the interviewers in situation, task, action, result. I learned this technique at UCLA, and it's helped me land several jobs as well as excel in a lot of interviewers throughout my career. So really take the time to use that STAR method. When you have that treasure chest of experience, you want to be able to have a lot of experience, and then use each of those treasure chest experience for each interview. You want to make sure you don't repeat the same experience or situation to that interviewer, because they want to hear a variety of situations you have solved during your career. You can use that experience again with a different interviewer, but with that same interviewer, you want to make sure you have a variety of experiences. Most interviews with a certain person will be about 3 or 4 questions. So you want to make sure you have a lot of experience, a lot of problems you've solved, so you have a variety of stories to give them. This will allow you to seem like you've done so much with your career, and you allow you to really make a great first impression on all of your interviewees. At the end of the interview, you're going to have time for questions. So they're going to be saying, hey, do you have any questions for me? And this is really important, that you have questions for that person. You want to have 2 or 3 questions. And the way you get these 2 or 3 questions is during the interview, you want to take notes of what your interviewer is saying. So you're going to write down certain aspects you learn about the project, certain things they're talking about their daily work, and then you're going to want to re-ask those questions. So if they mention something about working on hardware, they want to mention something working closely with the human resources or with the business development team, you want to ask questions about that. Like, hey, you mentioned that you're working on this hardware part. What is the most challenging aspect of that? Hey, you mentioned you're working with the business development team. Can you tell me what that current workflow is like, and what is determined as success for that certain workflow or project you're working with the business development team? So by doing these tasks, by really working on the STAR method, by being prepared for questions after the interview, you'll do well and really excel on that panel interview. All right, congratulations. You worked your tail off. You interviewed, you did well on the hiring manager, on the team panel interviews, and you got the job offer. So now the recruiter reached back out to you and gave you an offer. They let you know they want you to be on the team, and they're giving you the numbers, aka how much money they'll be paying you to come on board and join the team. So this is called the offer negotiation phase. And I want you guys to really make sure you do not accept the first offer. The reason being is that the recruiter, the company, will give you a lower offer when they first reach out to you. So you want to ask the recruiter if the offer is negotiable. And the way you do this is you say, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate the offer. I really enjoyed interviewing with the team, and I'm so excited for this company. I want to know, is this offer negotiable? The reason you ask if the offer is negotiable is because they'll either say yes or no, whether or not you can, and this will determine whether or not you can ask for more money for your offer. It's really important you ask this, right? If they say yes, the offer is negotiable, then say, thank you so much. I want to take some time to look it over with my family and my loved ones before accepting the offer. This will give you more time to basically do some market research on the offer, whether or not it is a good and fair offer they've given you. So that is the next step. Once you get the offer, I want you to go on websites like Glassdoor, like Blind, and just Google search your current role and see how much people are being paid for that role. If you see on Glassdoor that you are in the ballpark of that offer, then you're actually in the ballpark of that offer, and that's awesome. If you're seeing you're getting kind of stipped in a sense where they're giving you less than the actual market range for the offer, then you want to make sure you don't accept the offer and you provide a counter offer. At Google, most of the time we were given 2 to 3 rounds of negotiation. So meaning that you could ask for more money for about 2 or 3 times. And once they say the magical words, this is best and final, it really is best and final. I spoke with my recruiting friends about this. What happens is that most big companies, they give you an offer, and this offer is usually vetted by HR, human resources, or the compensation negotiation team, where they look at how much people are making at your current role, and they give you an offer based on how you did on the interview, as well as how much your team is making or any people in that comparable role. So it's really important that you take your information from your Google search, from your Glassdoor search. If you are in technology, websites like levels.fyi or blind.com will have information on people getting new offers and how much they're given, right? So you want to make sure you take a look at this and then provide the counter offer. For me, what I always did was I would get the offer and then I would look at how much people were being offered in my range. So say we'll go with whole numbers. Say you got an offer for 100,000 and then most people are getting paid around 125,000. What I would do is I would go back to the recruiter, ask them for a number like 150,000, and then they would certainly, for the most part, meet you in the middle at 125,000. And don't be scared to lose the offer once you ask to negotiate, right? If you talk to the recruiter and they said this offer is negotiable and basically you're good to go to negotiate, feel free to provide a counter offer. You want to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck or the most money for this offer, because this is the only time you'll be on the negotiation table until you go get a new job, or say you're up like a year in review and you're able to renegotiate, which never really happens. But this is when you are at the point of your most leverage to get the most money from the company that you're currently maybe working with. So take this portion very seriously on the offer negotiation phase. Don't accept the first offer. Do market research to find out how much people in your comparative role are making, and then provide that counter offer so that way you get the most money during this negotiation phase. Don't forget, this is the part where you have the most leverage. So take this part very, very, very seriously, because this is how much you'll be making for the next upcoming year if you choose to accept that offer. All right, so you started your first day at the job, and it's really important that you put your best foot forward at your job, and you want to excel at this role so it can lead to a more fulfilling work environment, as well as it can lead to a more fulfilling career where you're able to get promotions, bonuses, and do well at work. So here are some tips on how to do well at work. I use these tips a lot at Google when it came to really learning my job and really getting good with networking with my peers at my role. So first things what I did was I set up recurring one-on-one meetings. These one-on-one meetings were weekly with my manager and then bi-weekly with some team members, especially if I was working closely with them. These meetings can just go over what you're currently working on, if you need any help on certain projects or aspects of the program, and you really do this to really develop relationships with your coworkers. I also set them up with sistering or neighboring teams who had basically worked on my project as well, so they have like basic external parts that depend on the success of my project. So this really shows that you're taking initiative and you're constantly learning. Because a lot of work is so team-based and team-focused, you want to meet with as many teams as you can to learn their processes and procedures, especially if they affect your current role. So if you're currently working on an expansion program for the data center or whatever you may be working on, and it requires help from legal, from finance, you want to make sure you have a point of contact in those teams. And you do that by learning from your teammates who they think is a good point of contact, and then setting up one-on-one meetings with them so you establish a rapport and a relationship. This is really important because when it comes to performance reviews at work, your performance reviews will, one, come from your manager, right? But then two, they'll also come from your peers. So you want to have around 5 or 6 peers that you can really lean on and you know will have and put a good word for you. This is the secret to doing well kind of on your job and your role. Another thing too is you really want to market yourself. So you can get yourself on high impact projects and then showcase that you're on these high impact projects doing a good job. You can do this by kind of including your information on a newsletter, by reaching out to your teammates, providing and creating kind of conferences where you talk about what you did. This will really make you stand above and beyond. And then you also really want to get good with networking with senior leadership. So you're going to have some senior leadership on your team, whether high level managers or they are directors or sometimes even VPs. If you can get on their office hours, get lunch with them, whatever it may be, people who are high up in the organization, and develop a great relationship with them. This will allow you to really stand up in the corporate environment because of how crazy and how hard it is to do well and when you're around so many high achievers. So take this seriously. Set up those one-on-one meetings. Always be constantly learning by networking with people in your organization and develop good relationships with senior managers. This will help you get promoted, help you move up the job, and really allow you to excel in your career. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the course. Here are my final thoughts. I don't want you guys ever to give up when it comes to finding a job. I know how hard it can be to find your first role or just transition to a new job or new role that you may think is a better fit. So what I have to say is that apply. You want to have that funnel of 20 jobs a day. If you can do more, do more. This will help you get good with interviewing, good with negotiating, as well as having that nice pipeline will allow you to have a better chance to land a new job, land your first role, whatever it may be. I have the Angelo podcast. If you're curious and want to watch my business tips advice, I'll leave that below. Also, feel free to follow me on YouTube and Instagram, where I post all my content on business, jobs, technology. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give this a great rating. I worked so hard on this, and I'll catch you guys later. Check out my other courses below. Thank you so much for watching.